G.A.S, Gear Acquisition Syndrome, is usually portrayed as the bad guy. But is it? Is it always? I'm going to try to take a balanced view, look at the bad and the ugly, but also the good. So maybe we can use it to our advantage. I will ask questions later on, and I will offer some suggestions, but I absolutely guarantee there will be at least one suggestion you absolutely hate. But just in case you need reminding or don't suffer at all from G.A.S, here's a quick reminder of why it gets such a bad rap. The first one is obviously the financial aspect, buying things we don't really need. It also distracts from actually making music. We spend more time looking for stuff than we do actually using the stuff we already have. If you have too much stuff, you have too many options, which can lead to analysis paralysis, and it means you never get any music made, you never get anything actually done. Chasing the dragon or the dream, this is one of the things marketeers home in on. The promise that if you just buy this next new piece of gear, you will be able to make music like, insert your favourite artist here. It can lead to studio clutter, particularly hardware, of course, but even in the software field where it is on your hard disk, you have so much stuff which you never actually use. And if you are continually buying new stuff, you will never actually learn how to use the stuff you have, which will decrease, I would suggest, your music making ability. I have probably suffered from every one of these at one time or another. But is G.A.S entirely bad and ugly? Is there a good side? So if you are considering a new piece of gear, software or hardware, a lot of people, I think, will do some research. And this is how many of us learn, researching new pieces of gear, seeing what they can do, what is so special about them. So in this sense, it is a form of education. We don't realise we are being educated, but it is how we learn a lot of stuff about music and synthesizers. Of course, one of the promises of G.A.S is that it will give you the magic bullet you need to make your music. Now, this doesn't always happen, or perhaps I could say this rarely happens, but if we research a lot of different products, we will find tools which we find genuinely useful. The destination might be valuable, the road might be winding, but you don't have to stop and drink in every saloon that you pass. Is that a metaphor too much? And this sort of leads us to one of the cruxes of G.A.S. It's all about want, it's not about need. And marketeers play on this, they play on our emotions. Most purchase decisions are made emotionally rather than intellectually. And I absolutely know and realise this is a very difficult thing to compartmentalise. Now, if you research the gear before you actually buy it, if indeed you do buy it, it will give you a better understanding of how things work, about how software is designed, about how hardware is designed. It will give you an insight into the sort of workflows which the companies who develop these things think will be beneficial to you. So perhaps you get a better appreciation and understanding of instrument design, particularly with hardware. Now, if you can research these gas-fueled instruments slightly dispassionately, it will help you understand what sort of workflow best suits you. With any piece of gear, it's not just about the sound or what it does, it's about the workflow. It helps you decide and refine what you like, what you don't like, and what sort of workflow you have, and whether or not this particular piece of gear will fit into it. It's as much, if not more, actually, about the workflow than what it actually does. Now, you may not actually consider this a benefit, but sometimes if you try to integrate, let's say, a new piece of hardware into your setup, you may have to juggle with connections, MIDI connections, audio connections, and so on. So it does possibly help you improve your understanding of that side of the business. Also, with software, sometimes it's not just as straightforward as installing a plugin and clicking on it and it works. Sometimes you have to adjust routines to give it certain bits of information, or sometimes the plugin needs to be controlled by another track. So in this sense, it helps you understand and learn more about what your DAW can do. So for hardware, we're probably talking about MIDI and audio connectivity. For software, we're probably talking about modulation routine. These have become very complex in some of the latest plugins, but also sampling. A lot of instruments use samples. And of course, there's a whole world of different types of synthesis in various pieces of software and hardware just waiting for you to learn and dig into. And let's not forget community. You're watching this on a community channel, YouTube. You will leave some comments if you want to, and I will reply. We have a community. I have made some great friends through this YouTube channel. And quite often making electronic music can be a bit of a lonely occupation. How many of your friends actually make electronic music as well? I ran a survey about this in one of my posts a while back, and most people do not know any other musicians, not friends who they meet face to face. So we have an online community, whether it's through YouTube and channels like this or on Reddit. Shared hardships and complaining about pieces of gear, or asking if a certain piece of gear is worth it or not. This brings us together. And finally, and this is probably what drives G.A.S the most, there will be times when we come across a piece of gear which we actually find inspiring and useful. And I think this is what we are secretly looking for every time we succumb to G.A.S. But that doesn't mean we have to go out and buy every new shiny box. So all that said, let's see if we can come up with a few suggestions, a few tactics that we can use to avoid G.A.S. Now, as I said earlier, it is about want, not about need. So if you can actually decide whether this is something you actually need, rather than just want and think it will be something cool to use and play with, then that would be a big step forward. So you might want to ask yourself, what specific problem are you trying to solve? Have you already got something which would help you solve it? Whether that's something technical to help you do something easier or better, or maybe you're just looking for new sounds, but perhaps you can do that by further getting into what you already have. Is it boredom, or are you searching for inspiration? Inspiration doesn't come in a box, so I've been told. So this is one of the suggestions which you will absolutely hate, and you will have heard it hundreds of times before. Learn to use what you already have. I have a silly number of plugins and sample libraries, and I confess I don't know how to use all of them with any degree of capability. So it's a question of do what I say, not what I do. But the chances are, if you do learn what all your gear can do, quite likely it can do most of the stuff which you are looking for new gear to do. Does that make sense? I hope so. You know what I mean. Learn what you have, and then you will know what is missing from your setup and what you need rather than want. If something is still tickling your fancy that you want to buy, give yourself a cooling off period. Now, that's why companies have a time-limited offers. They don't want you to think about whether you actually need something. This could be a week or a month, but at the end of that time, if then you can actually say, yes, I actually do sort of need this, then we can progress to the next step. It also makes sense to try the demo. Most pieces of software have a demo version, so it makes sense to try that. If it's hardware, then camp out at your local music store and make sure that it works and does what you want in the way that you want it. Look at the workflow, not just what it does. Is it faster, smoother, easier? Is it more fun? In the case of hardware, think about the one in, one out approach, which means if you want to buy something new, you should sell something which you are not using. In fact, it's probably a good idea to sell stuff which you are not actually using. But that keeps your studio streamlined, and it also provides some funds to buy new stuff with. In the case of software, I have a set of criteria that I use to work my way through the potential buying process. I made a video about this in more detail. Check that out in the description if you want to. But in brief, I have a cut-off price of about $29. If it's more than that, I need to have another look at the software and see if I think it's worth it. As I've said in the other video, I think $29 is a fair price for most pieces of software. Shoot me down in flames, go on. The second criteria is that it should be NKS compatible, which means it shows up in Komplete Kontrol. I made a few videos about Komplete Kontrol. I shall link to them in the description. But this saves me hours of work. Literally, it does save me hours of time every single week whenever I am working on a project. So that's criteria number 2. Criteria number 3 is this sort of fuzzy one. Is it something I need or is it something I want? Now, this is very easy for me to decide because I've got so much stuff which I don't really use. I certainly don't use it to its full ability. Most of it is more about want than need. But there are some things which are really interesting, particularly on the inspirational side of things. Now, this is my set of criteria. It's a good idea if you create your own criteria, which the product has to get past before you get onto the next step. And one of the things I look at, of course, particularly given my $29 price point, is it on sale? Now, with very few exceptions, and there are some exceptions, every piece of software goes on sale at some time or another. So apart from those rare pieces of software, I can't actually remember buying anything at full price. Software often has an introductory offer, and there are sales throughout the year for just about every piece of software out there. So gas is not all bad, but it does need to be tempered and controlled and used to your advantage. Learn from the research you do. Prioritize creation, because that's what it's about ultimately, and make informed choices. And yes, master the tools you already have. So 2 questions for you. Number 1, do you have any tips for avoiding gas? And question 2, what has been your worst gas purchase? I'd be very curious to know what that might be. Let me know in the comments. I hope you found this interesting. I hope you found it useful. I hope you can put some of the information here to good and productive use. I am going to play with some of the stuff I haven't used for a while and get more familiar with it. As always, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I will see you again in the next one.